Okay, so I wanted to talk about Naughty Dog's disaster piece again. Why? Because it's lucrative. I've noticed from the game's defenders that they cry foul with accusations of racism, sexism, and whatever ism you can think of. They are really far up their own asses thinking that the game is inclusive for all. Well, what if I told you that the game is actually a fucking joke to the idea of promoting diversity, inclusiveness, and whatever rainbow butterfly words exist? The game unintentionally only created negative stigma towards homosexuals and transgender people. I think it's easy to point at people talking shit on Twitter or wherever the hell else and just say, oh, those people are just being bigots, blah, blah, blah. But in my opinion, the game with its preachy, pretentious nature invited itself to be met with such a response. I don't know about you, but a negative stereotype about gay characters in fiction and how left-leaning writers portray them in general is that they are shoved in your faces for everyone to see, and that they like to sidestep characters people actually like. If defenders of the game actually kept track and properly analyzed the complaints about the game and why it was deemed woke, it was because the game was perceived as an allegory that states that straight white male protagonists are disgusting and bad, and deserve to be discarded in favor for buff bitches and whoever the fuck else. There was clearly an ulterior motive with the game. And the game just tries to disguise it with the excuse that, oh, Joel pissed off a lot of people in the last game. Around 1 million times I've been told that if Abby was a white dude, there wouldn't have been anywhere near as much backlash. But of course, I think that argument fails to realize that The Last of Us Part 2, being as politically motivated as it is, would have never made Abby a white dude the way it's been written. Is it supposed to be a coincidence that the bitch who killed Joel happened to be unrealistically muscular and also a woman? Can anyone also list a story that did anything similar with a non-politically charged character? I've been saying that this game is just a poor man's Black Ops 2, which indulged in similar themes, and also killed off like the main character of the previous game, at least in the canon timeline established by Treyarch. The difference being that Black Ops 2 didn't make me want to throw my controller at the TV. Anyways, the point is, the allegory is so obvious, you'd have to be blind not to notice it. How does this make the game unintentionally harmful towards LGBT people? Well, the game with its passive-aggressive and hostile tone towards pretty much anyone helps support the stereotype that gayness is spreading in our games, and it feels the need to barge in unannounced and smear itself over everything. In short, the game pretty much promoted homophobia through reverse psychology. This game's story does fucking nothing to combat homophobia. In fact, it just makes the problem 10 times worse. This is the sort of shit that's going to keep religious families strict, and only prove the point of people who think gayness is a disease. Because The Last of Us Part 2 isn't very clever in how it tells people like that how they're wrong. Think of it like this. It's a completely double-edged sword. There are people who are bigoted and will never change their minds, obviously. But you're not going to pull one over them by doing what you did with The Last of Us Part 2. You don't purge gay stereotypes and myths through your writing. You pretty much created more negative stereotypes and myths about gay people, trans people, buff women, etc. It's completely counterintuitive, and it's really strange how people actually supported this game for its themes concerning this crap. I honestly think that gay people should have a way higher standard than this, because they seem to just be blind to the fact that the game is fucking gaslighting conservatives at best. I don't understand how this game at all supported the cause in a positive way, because the way I see it, it made homophobia even more widespread. There might be people who will never change their minds, and you certainly did nothing to prove them wrong, but you also turned anyone who is conservative or even on the fence against the LGBT community. It's time for some introspection. It's easy to blame people for being homophobic or whatever, but I mean, the game does a piss poor job at combating homophobia. Indiana Jones, for example, makes its case why Nazism is bad through its anti-fascist themes and allegories, and only total crackpots disagree with it. But I'm sorry to say that The Last of Us Part 2 completely failed to do so. Because gay stereotypes aren't just that gay people act the opposite to their traditional gender roles. like feminine men, for example, or that all homosexuals are pedophiles, quote unquote. But there's also stereotypes endorsed through how they're portrayed in fiction. In particular, they like to hijack stories that were previously about something different and ruin it out of sheer spite. I don't even know I would say that Mr. Cuckman is well informed about homophobia. Because if I didn't know any better, had he stepped a tad off with his approach to writing this, I would think he's trying to get same-sex marriage banned again. The dude has been criticized for being out of touch with criticism, and it's clear that he hasn't learned a thing in the past few years. But I'd say the same thing applies to how he writes, quote, diverse people, whether it be women, non-whites, or homosexuals. Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say, that it's a double-edged sword. And really, the game did a disservice to gay people, despite its intentions, and don't take this the wrong way, but it certainly made me apathetic to all this, if that's how he chooses to portray it with his divisive allegories and whatnot. I'm JJ Plagiarisms, and until next time, what are stories but mystery boxes?